Here we are going to start with a revision of Caro 2020, and in this we are going to revise it from Pragnesh sir's note, and in that the whole topic of Caro will be covered. You can watch this revision series at the speed of your convenience. Okay, so let's start. Caro 2020. Caro means Company's Auditor Report Order 2020. In that paragraph 1 is this order may be called the Company's Auditor Report Order 2020. Paragraph 2. It shall apply to every company including a foreign company as defined in Section 2, Clause 42 of the Companies Act 2013 except the following. It means Caro is not applicable to a banking company as defined in Section 5 Clause C of the Banking Regulation Act 1945, insurance company as defined under the Insurance Act 1938, a company licensed to operate under Section 8 of the Companies Act, which means the non-profit organizations, a one-person company defined in Section 2, Clause 62 of the Companies Act, and a small company as defined in Section 2, Clause 85 of the Companies Act. And the last is a private limited company, not being a subsidiary or a holding company of a public company having, it means a private company having a paid up share capital and reserve and surplus not more than 1 crore rupees as on the balance sheet date, not more than means up to 1 crore, which does not have a total borrowing exceeding 1 crore. Matlab, this will be the exceeding 1 crore from any bank or financial institution. This will be the as on balance sheet date, and this will financial institution borrowing will be at any point of time during the financial year. And remember, all the three condition has to be fulfilled, which does not have a total revenue as disclosed in Schedule 3 of the Companies Act, including revenue from a discontinuing operation exceeding 10 crore during the financial year as per the financial statement during the financial year. That means turnover. You can use the memory technique as BIOS 8. B. Banking company, insurance company I, one person company O, and as is for a small company, which and the next is a private company, and 8 is for a Section 8 company licensed under Section 8 of the Companies Act. The next is this order shall not apply to the auditor's report on a consolidated financial statement except clause 21, paragraph 3. Now we'll start with the paragraph 3. Para 3. Matters to be included in the auditor's report. The auditor's report on the accounts of company to which this order applies shall include a statement on the following matters, namely, first, Clause 1 is the property, plant and equipment. In that, proper records, physical verification, ownership of the immovable properties, revaluation and Benami property. These 5 things need to be checked. So the first is a proper record. In that, check whether the company is maintaining a proper record showing full particulars including a quantitative details and the situation of the property, plant and equipment. Whether the company is maintaining a proper record showing full particulars of intangible asset. Second is physical verification. Whether this property, plant and equipment have been physically verified by the management at a reasonable interval, whether any material discrepancies were noticed on such verification, and if so, whether the same have been properly dealt with in the books of account. Third is ownership of the immovable properties. Whether the title deeds of all the immovable property other than the properties where the company is the lessee and the lease agreement are duly executed in favor of the lessee, disclosed in the financial statement, are held in the name of the company. If not, provide the details in the format below. Provide details of the description of the property, gross carrying value held in the name of whether the promoter, director or that relative or employee, period held indicate range where appropriate, and reason for not being held in the name of the company. Is there a dispute? Fourth is revaluation. Whether the company has revalued its property, plant and equipment including right of use asset or intangible asset or both during the year, and if so, whether the revaluation is based on the valuation by a registered valuer. Specify the amount of change, and if the change is 10% or more in aggregate of the net carrying value of each class of property, plant and equipment or intangible asset. It means if the change is more than 10%, then it need to be disclosed. And the fifth point is Benami property. Whether any proceeding have been initiated or are pending against the company for holding any Benami property under a Benami Transaction Act 1988 and rules made thereunder. If so, whether the company has appropriately disclosed the detail in its financial statement. The next clause is inventory. In that inventory, auditor needs to check and report on physical verification, working capital loan sanction, working capital loan mentioned. The first is physical verification. Whether the physical verification of the inventory has been conducted at a reasonable interval by the management, and whether, in the opinion of the auditor, the coverage and the procedure of such verification by the management is appropriate, whether any discrepancies of 10% or more in the aggregate for each class of inventory when noticed, and if so, whether they have been properly dealt with in the books of account. Next is working capital loan. Whether during any point of time of the year, the company has been sanctioned a working capital limit in excess of 5 crore rupees in aggregate from the bank or a financial institution on the basis of the securities of the current asset. Whether the quarterly returns or the statement filed by the company with such bank or financial institution are in agreement with the books of account of the company. If not, give details. The third clause in Caro report is of investment made or loans or guarantee given. Whether during the year The company has made an investment in, provided any guarantee or security, or granted any loan or advances in the nature of loan, secured or unsecured, to companies, firm, LLP, or any other parties. If so, then the first point will be breakup of the loan given to subsidiary, joint venture, associates, and other. Second is prejudicial to company's interests. Third is repayment schedule and recovery. Fourth is amount overdue for more than 90 days. Fifth is renewal, extension, replacement of loan given. Sixth is demand loan or without defined repayment schedule. This 6 point will be covered in clause 3. Now the first is breakup of loan given to subsidiary, joint venture, associate, and other. Whether during the year the company has provided loan or provided advance in nature of loan, or stood guarantee or provided security to any other entity, not applicable to companies whose principal business is to give loans. If so indicate, the aggregate amount during the year and the balance outstanding at the balance sheet date with respect to such loan or advance, and the guarantee or the securities to subsidiaries, joint venture, and associate. The aggregate amount during the year and the balance outstanding at the balance sheet date with respect to such loans or advances, and the guarantee or a security to parties other than subsidiaries. Here it is subsidiaries, joint venture, and associate. Here to the parties other than subsidiaries, joint venture, and associate. Next point is prejudicial to company's interests. Whether the investment made, guarantee provided, or a security given, and the terms and the condition of the grant of all loans and advances in the nature of the loans and guarantee provided are not prejudicial to the company's interests. Third is repayment schedule and recovery. In respect of the loan and advances in the nature of loan, whether the schedule of the repayment of the principal and payment of interest has been stipulated, and whether the repayment or the receipts are regular. Next is amount overdue for 90 days. If the amount is overdue, state the total amount overdue for more than 90 days, and whether reasonable steps have been taken by the company for the recovery of the principal and interest. Fifth is renewal, extension, replacement of the loan given. Whether any loan or advances in the nature of the loan granted which has fallen due during the year has been renewed or extended, or fresh loan granted to settle the overdues of the existing loans given to the same parties. If so, specify the aggregate amount of such dues renewed or extended or settled by a fresh loan, and the percentage of the aggregate to the total loan or advances in the nature of the loans granted during the year. It means not applicable to companies whose principal business is to give loan, that we have already known. And the last is demand loan or without defined repayment schedule. Whether the company has granted any loan or advances in the nature of the loans either repayable on demand or without specifying any term or period of repayment. If so specified, the aggregate amount, percentage thereof to the total loan granted, aggregate amount of the loan granted to the promoter related party as defined in section 2 clause 76 of the Companies Act 2013. The next is clause 4 of the Caro report, compliance with section number 185 and 186. In respect of the loan and loan investment guarantee and security, whether the provisions of section 185 and 186 of the Companies Act 2013 have been complied with. If not, then provide the details thereof. Fifth is deposit accepted. Fifth clause is deposit accepted. In respect of the deposit accepted by the company or the amount which are deemed to be deposit, whether the directives issued by the Reserve Bank of India and the provision of section 73 to 76 of the Companies Act 2013 or any other relevant provision of the Companies Act and the rule made under where applicable have been complied with. If not, the nature of such a contravention to be stated. In order, if an order has been passed by the Company Law Board or National Company NCLT, National Company Law Tribunal or RBI or any court or any other tribunal, whether the same has been complied with or not. Clause 6 is cost record. Whether the maintenance of the cost record has been specified by the central government under Section 148 of the Companies Act and whether such accounts and records have been so maintained. Clause 7 is statutory dues, in that first is arrears exceeding 6 months, details of the legal dispute, arrears exceeding 6 months, whether the company is regular in depositing undisputed statutory dues, including goods and service tax, provident fund, employees' state insurance, income tax, sales tax, service tax, duty of custom, duty of excise, value added tax, cess, and any other statutory dues to the appropriate authorities, and if not, the extent of the arrears outstanding statutory dues as on the last day of the financial year concerned for a period of more than 6 months from the date they become payable shall be indicated. Next is detail of the legal dispute. Where statutory dues referred to in subclause A have not been deposited on account of any dispute, then the amount involved and the forum where the dispute is pending shall be mentioned. See, arrears exceeding 6 months is of undisputed statutory dues, and the next is the legal dispute where statutory dues are in dispute and that is pending. A mere presentation to the concerned department shall not be treated as a dispute. Okay. Next is clause 8. Undisclosed income surrendered or disclosed. Whether any transaction not recorded in books of account have been surrendered or disclosed as a income during the year in tax assessment under the Income Tax Act 1961. If so, whether the previously unrecorded income has been properly recorded in the books of account during the year. Clause 9 of the Caro report, default in repayment of the dues. In that, first point, second, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth. 6 points are there. The first is whether the company has defaulted in repayment of the loan or other borrowing or in the repayment of the interest thereon to any lender. See, we have to be very careful in small details because in MCQ they will ask, okay, in Caro clause 9, default in repayment of the dues, payment of interest thereon to any lender, and they will give the option as well. So we have to read very thoroughly and understand it. So let's get back to the reading. In the payment of the interest thereon to any lender, if yes, the period and the amount of the default to be reported as per the format below. We have to mention the nature of borrowing, including debt, security, name of the lender, amount not paid on due date, whether the principal or the interest amount, number of the days delayed or unpaid, and remark if any. All the things need to be mentioned. Is that a willful defaulter? Whether the company is declared a willful defaulter by any bank or financial institution or other lender. Utilization for the specified purpose. Whether the term loan were applied for the purpose for which the loans were obtained. If not, the amount of the loan so diverted and the purpose for which it is used may be reported. Utilization of the short-term loan for long-term purpose. Whether the fund raised on short-term basis have been utilized for long-term purpose. If yes, then the nature and the amount to be indicated. Loan taken to meet the obligation of the component. Whether the company has taken any funds from any entity or a person on account of or to meet the obligation of its subsidiary, associate, or a joint venture. If so, details thereof with the nature of such transaction and amount in each case. Securities held in component pledge. Whether the company has raised a loan during the year on the pledge of securities held in its subsidiaries, joint venture, or associate companies. If so, give details thereof and also report if the company has defaulted in the repayment of such loan raised. Caro clause 10, public offer and a private placement. Whether the money raised by way of initial public offer or further public offer, including debt instrument during the year, were applied for the purpose for which those are raised. If not, the details together with delays or default and subsequent rectification, if any, as may be applicable, be reported. Whether the company has made any preferential allotment or a private placement of the shares or a convertible debenture, IPO and FPO, in that public offer and initial public offer. Private placement of the shares or a convertible debenture, fully, partly, or optionally convertible during the year, and if so, whether the requirement of Section 42 and Section 62 of the Companies Act 2013 have been complied with, and the funds raised have been used for the purpose for which the fund were raised. If not, provide details in respect of the amount involved and the nature of the non-compliance. Clause 11 of the Caro report, fraud reporting. In that, clause 11, and this is a clause 12. Clause 11, fraud reporting. Whether any fraud by the company or any fraud on the company has been noticed or reported during the year. If yes, the nature and the amount involved is to be indicated. Whether any report under Section 143 of the Companies Act 2013 has been filed by the auditor in Form ADT4 as prescribed under the Rules 13 of the Companies Audit and Auditor Rule 2014 with the central government ADT 4 will be applied when fraud is exceeding. Whether the auditor has considered a whistleblower complaint, if any, received during the year by the company. Clause 12, Nidhi Company of Caro 2020. Whether the Nidhi Company has whether the Nidhi Company has complied with the net owned fund to deposit in the ratio of 1:20 to meet out the liability, whether the Nidhi Company is maintaining a 10% unencumbered term deposit as specified in Nidhi Rule 2014 to meet out the liability, whether there has been any default in payment of the interest on deposit or repayment thereof for any period, and if so, the detail thereof. Clause 13, compliance with Section 177 and 188 of the Companies Act 2013. Whether all the transactions with the related party are in compliance with Section 177 and 188 related party transactions and 188 of the Companies Act where applicable, and the details have been disclosed in the financial statement, etc., as required by the applicable accounting standard. Clause 14 of the Caro report, internal audit system. Whether the company has an internal audit system commensurate with the size and nature of its business, and whether the report of the internal auditor for the period under the audit were considered by the statutory auditor. Report of the internal auditor. The next is clause 15 of the Caro, compliance with section 192 of the Companies Act, which says whether the company has entered into any non-cash transaction with the director or person connected with him, and if so, whether the provision of section 192 of the Companies Act have been complied with. Clause 16, NBFC registration. Whether the company is required to be registered under Section 45 IA of the Reserve Bank of India, and if so, whether the registration has been obtained, whether the company has conducted any non-banking financial or housing financing activity without a valid certificate of registration from the RBI as per the RBI Act 1934, whether the company is a core investment company as defined in the regulation made by the RBI, if so, whether it continue to fulfill the criteria of CIC, it means core investment company, and in case the company is an exempted or unregistered core investment company, whether it continues to fulfill such criteria, and whether the group has more than one CIC as a part of the group. If yes, indicate the number of the core investment companies which are part of the group. Next is clause 17, cash loss. Whether the company has incurred cash losses in the financial year and immediately preceding financial year, if so, state the amount of the cash loss. Clause 18, resignation by the statutory auditor. Whether there has been any resignation of the statutory auditor during the year, if so, whether the auditor has taken into consideration the issues, objections, or the concern raised by the outgoing auditor. Clause 19. Material uncertainty. On the basis of the financial ratios, aging, and expected date of the realization of the financial asset and payment of the financial liabilities, other information accompanying the financial statement, auditor's knowledge of the board of director and management plan, whether the auditor is of the opinion that no material uncertainty exists as on the date of the audit report, that the company is capable of meeting its liabilities existing at the date of the balance sheet date, and when they fall due within a period of 1 year from the balance sheet date. Clause 20 is CSR activity. Whether in respect of other than ongoing project, the company has transferred an unspent amount to a fund specialized in Schedule 7 to the Companies Act 2013 within a period of 6 months of the expiry of the financial year, in compliance with the Section 135, subsection 5 of the Companies Act. Whether any amount remaining unspent of the Companies Act Section 135 pursuant to any ongoing project has been transferred to a special account in compliance with the provision of Section 135, subsection 6 of the Companies Act. The first is the ongoing project, and the second is any ongoing project. The first is other than ongoing project, sorry. And the last clause is negative remark in component auditor's report. Whether there have been any qualification or adverse remark by the respective auditor in the Caro report of the companies included in consolidated financial statement. If yes, indicate the detail of the companies and the paragraph number of the Caro report containing a qualification or the adverse remark. The last the para 4 of the Caro 2020, reason to be stated for an unfavorable or a qualified answer, where in auditor's report the answer to any question referred to in paragraph 3 is unfavorable or qualified, the auditor's report shall also state the basis for unfavorable or qualified answer as the case may be. And where the auditor is unable to express any opinion on any specified matter, his report shall indicate such fact together with a reason as to why it is not possible for him to give his opinion on the same. I hope this revision is helpful, and you can revise this multiple times to get a good grip on Caro report. Thank you.